am delighted to be joined today by John Hyde, famously of the Law Society Gazette. So, thank you, John, for agreeing to come on and talk to me about your side of the legal profession, which has to be an interesting space to be in.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank you very much for the introduction, by the way. I don't know about famous. I try and tell my children that, someone once asked me for a selfie at a legal conference, but they refused to believe it. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, good stuff. So, I think my first question is to you: What got you into working with lawyers? We are a rum bunch.
Yeah, I didn't realize quite how rum you were, I suppose. Yeah, it was pure chance, really. My friend was a solicitor for a claimant firm. He later went on to be a defence solicitor, which we can come on to. But he said, "Oh, look, you should go and work for the Law Society Gazette. You'll get your name in a national publication, and it's quite interesting, some of the stuff." So yeah, so I went along to the interview, and he told me one thing, which was just say that you're a new breed of Gazette reporter in the ABS world. And so, that they desperately need someone like you who's not a lawyer. So that's why I said, I just said, I regurgitated that line exactly. And it was only afterwards I thought, I don't know what ABS is. I did, and still don't totally, but yeah, and I managed to hoodwink my editor into hiring me, and that was it really. So I had absolutely I'd done a legal module in journalism college, so I was just about able to not get libeled. But other than that, had absolutely no legal knowledge whatsoever, which actually is a huge benefit. In most respects, because I can just say to a lawyer that I'm interviewing, look, I don't know. So you tell me from the start and just make it really simple. And actually that hopefully that sometimes comes out in my writing, because actually we sort of assume that all lawyers know everything. When of course, they don't. There's no possibility of that. So if I'm breaking it down into slightly more manageable, readable chunks, then actually that helps the readers as well. So I always like to think that my ignorance is a real asset.
I do like the idea of just turning up and going, I've got this really cracking phrase. It sounds brilliant. And they go, yeah,
Yeah,
look,
yeah, and
I presented you
actually
with this.
it was genius. Like I really owe him one, because ABSs were coming along, and non-lawyers were part of the conversation, and are a huge part of the business, and I think the Gazette. I don't want to disparage my predecessors too much, although I'm happy to. But I think the Gazette was sort of seen as a slightly sort of old-fashioned sort of journal of record kind of thing. And when I joined, they still had a thing called Deals of the Week, which was just like I just despaired. I was like, well, who reads this? Like, who would possibly care apart from the people who did the deal and their parents? That's it. So
Yeah.
we 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 consciously tried to make it more more interesting, and more like you would want to see from your professional publication, with salacious details and all, really.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think there has been a shift because I remember, sort of qualifying and getting my Gazette. It's very exciting.
Mhm.
It used to come, come in with a post, cup of tea, sit down,
Yeah.
open my Gazette, back in the days when, people used to write you letters. It was lovely. No emails, or, very, very early doors emails. And you sit down with your Gazette, and the first thing you do is go to the SDT bit and
Oh
go,
yeah,
who's
yeah, yeah.
who's been naughty this week? Do I know anybody? And on one infamous occasion, I did actually, and
Oh, did you?
it couldn't happen to a nicer person.
I know. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, a lot of people tell me that they look at it and go, "Oh, I always knew he was a wrong 'un. Yeah, I never trusted him." So, yeah, that's the bit that people read, and also now, people say to me, without fail, they say, "Oh, I love the comments on the Gazette," and I think like that is the one bit I don't write. So, thanks very much for that.
Thanks.
I really
But
appreciate that.
hopefully your mum appreciates what you write.
Uh, oh, do you know what? She had absolutely no idea about anything that I wrote. She was a bit annoyed actually, because I used to work for a publication in East London and I got free tickets for the O2. Yeah, I had so many hangers on, who would try and blag free tickets from me, and they were all really annoyed when at best they might get some discounted legal advice from my new job. Yeah, and it was funny. My mum sort of never really understood it, and then she phoned me after the first part of the post office drama because I'd written a lot about the post office, and she said, "Oh God, this is what you've been working on." I'm like, "I've been telling you for like 2 years, Mum," but
Yeah.
it hadn't quite gone in. She was kind of symptomatic of the country, I think, that sort of woken up to it, but the rest of the country hadn't had me telling them every week what was going on, so
No,
she had
no.
no excuse. Yeah. Um,
Like, you should be proud of what I do. Come on,
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to think actually it's quite accessible. It's the water cooler stuff, isn't it? So um, the best stories in the Gazette always are the things that you will read and you would turn to your colleague at the next desk and go, "Have you seen this?" That and that is the same for the Sun, the Mail, whatever publication you want to name, and so I think the Gazette got better at sort of creating those water cooler moments almost, and finding stories that actually matter to people, and actually, um, we had a real change. I think it was like around the Axiom Ints time and the SSB law. Um, we started writing from the perspective of clients. We started writing. So if a client came to us, I mean, I'll be honest, we get quite a lot of disgruntled clients coming to us, and we have to sort of direct them to the legal ombudsman or the SRA. We said that we can't possibly, read your 100-page document.
And they also
But
in green ink.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Quite often on a Friday afternoon, we get those calls. But it was important, say with the Axiom Ints, to point out to our readers, look, the clients at the end of this who are getting shafted, for want of a better word, and you know, it was really important to me and to us that we gave that side of it as well. So it's not just a publication for lawyers; it should be a publication for lawyers to better understand the law, and part of that is to understand what clients were going through as well. So yeah, hopefully a gear shift.
I
Um,
Yeah, no, I think that is really important because it almost the expectation is I know the law, what my narrow bit of the law that I do.
mhm.
As I don't talk to me about criminal work, I can probably bake you a cake with a file in it, and that's about my limits. Um, but yeah, actually, we're here to deliver services to clients, and people go, "Oh, we're a profession." Well, we are, but service delivery is part of that, and I think anything you do to shine a light on practice and things we should be doing and actually shouldn't be doing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as you say, a la Axiomins, is important. And
Mm.
I think having as you say followed these things through because I do read my Gazette. I'm not just sucking up to you now. Yeah,
I once, this is genuine. I once had, I was in at a conference and a law society president who I won't name, um, said that in front of hundreds of people, including me, said, "Oh, there's going to be a thing in the Gazette for the next 3 weeks that we're running, so there'll be a reason to get it out of its wrapper." I thought, oh my God, well, thanks for the ringing endorsement there.
oh, did you have
But
don't you know who I am moment?
Uh, well, I had the other legal journalists sat around me, sort of tittering, which was quite galling for me. But yeah, I think unfortunately it did used to sit in the wrapper sometimes in mail rooms, uh, and actually it's amazing. When I joined, they'd only just really started a website, and so sort of 2 years before that, they had three or four reporters who would contribute maybe three stories a week, maybe four stories, because that's all you needed to fill the paper copy with. And so how do they fill their time? What were they doing all day? Um, like now, I routinely would write 4 or 5 stories a day,
Yeah,
um, and yeah, it's incredible to think how easy life used to be
that is nice, isn't
before
it?
websites. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there is that expectation of we want instant. we want instant news, we want instant gratification because
Hmm.
because breaking news is breaking news, but then it's something if you can get ahead of the game
Yeah.
because you've seen it. I've constantly got things. It's almost like ticker tape going
Yeah,
on. You
and
go, hang on, I
it's
need to know that's
horrible.
happening now.
Yeah, I kind of we should all have a moratorium when we go to conferences and things, just to say, should we all just not write this until Tuesday or something? Let's just give ourselves a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there was one. It was only a couple of years after I started, and there was APIL, Association of Personal Injury Lawyers, which ruins my word count, by the way. If you are starting an organization, could you please just give yourself one name? Anyway, yeah, and Apple had brought a court case arguing against fixed fees, and so we wrote two versions. Well, I wrote two versions, and I left them with my boss. I said, "Look, it's obviously going to go one of two ways. So I'll text you, and then you can get it on the website as soon as the decision's known." And I remember it was in the Royal Courts of Justice, and the judge. It was one of those judges where listen, I'm not going to tell judges how to do their job, but just at the start, say, right, here's who's won, right? Because that's all we're listening for. That's
See ya.
it. Don't sort of start, oh, Lord Bingham in 1962. Say, let's get on with it, and just we want to know who won.
Crank it up.
Yeah, you're not like Davina McCall. Like you don't have to do this, and he started, and he was just waffling on, but I thought. I can sense which way this is going. He's clearly driving down a certain path. And it was about 20 minutes in, and I thought, yeah, I know which way this is going. So I texted my boss and said, yeah, they've lost. April have lost. And I'll never forget that that the lawyers were listening to the judgment being read out. And I could see them on their phone reading the story of how they'd lost the case. Um, whilst whilst the judge was still, and I must admit that was a bit reckless on my part. And then I had this for about 5 minutes. I had this awful sense that the judge was going to go. However, that's being said,
Yeah.
um, and thank God he didn't, and he kept with it. But people were reading the Gazette story as they filed out of court, and I was like, yeah, that was I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's impressive.
um, to get the news out before the news happened was
And
was a first.
deciphering legalese, legal speak, judicial speak, which is
Oh yeah,
a
yeah.
language
That
in and of itself.
that is a real. I mean, yeah. Google is my friend. I must admit. I mean, I I do definitely think I understand CFA and DBA and all that comes with them, and Quox and every other bloody acronym that comes with the law. But yeah, my God, that when it turns to the Latin, um,
I know. And I remember when I was doing my degree, they were like, Latin is a thing of the past. So yeah, try telling people that now. I
yeah,
still got, and so I had something and I went, what is this?
it, it is ludicrous. I mean, I, I know some traditionalists might like it, and the judges get to look clever, but how on earth can we? Sorry, I'll get on my soapbox, but how on earth can we expect to say the law is accessible and that we're trying to make sure that people understand it, and particularly with litigants in person um, being so prominent, and
Mm,
there's still judges still use Latin phrases, for God's sake.
yeah,
It's preposterous. Well, and there's probably a Latin word for that. So,
probably. But but you're right. It's the access to justice point, which we're all sort of supposedly quite keen on. And I'm like, I was in court the other day, and I sat there and went, I've been doing this. I've been knocking around doing this for a while.
hmm.
Even I was sitting there going, yeah, okay.
Can you imagine what it must be like to be a litigant in person? I mean, they're absolutely baffled by the whole process. Yeah, it's yeah, and the latter thing just really annoys me. But in general, things like judgments, for example, the Supreme Court are quite good at this, putting a sort of summary at the start, and
Yes.
uh, I still get judgments, and they're sort of 100 pages long or something. And you think, could you not just for me, but for there's parties on both sides. Do they not want some kind of précis or some kind of summary?
Cliff notes, really.
Yeah, and actually, it would probably make your judgment better.
Yeah.
Your ruling better if you were required to sort of sum it up a little bit more. Like my, my boss, my very first boss who taught me journalism, always said, write a story as if you could cut it off after 4 paragraphs. So
Mhm.
imagine suddenly another story breaks. Oh, we've only got space for a tiny sidebar for your story. We're going to have to
Yeah.
chop it. We've got 1 minute, right? And I should be able to, as the editor, chop it after 4 paragraphs. That's it. Um, because if we've got 1 minute and I'm going, oh no, but actually there was some really important information that I'd saved to the eighth paragraph that we need to move, like that's just not gonna cut it. So hopefully this would be where if anyone's listening to this, they'll go and look at the Gazette
Cross it
and
out.
prove me wrong.
Sharpie.
But everything should be um understood after 4 paragraphs or so, and I'd love judgments to be a bit more contained, shall we say?
Good. And yeah, there is a real benefit to that sort of précis at the beginning, and then go, yeah, there will be stuff you need to go in and dig around and have a look at,
Yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, if you're, if you if if you want the whole thing, you can
you
by
can,
all means
by
read the
all means,
citation.
go knock yourself out.
There's some judges coming through. It's not like a Premier League academy, but like there's some judges I've noticed. So that Mr. Justice Ritchie, he is so good. Like his judgments are just so readable. And I love it when I see his name at the top because I think, oh, I'll actually get this.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I won't name the judges who I don't think that, but there are
Oh,
some.
yeah. So, what's your favorite case you sat in on? Or do you have one?
Oh, that is a good question. Yeah. Favorite case. Well, I mean, the favorite job I've sat in on was during the post office inquiry and when the lawyers gave evidence. That was electric to be in that
Yeah,
room when
yeah, I
that was
bet.
happening. Like, so I went in person. I know it's not a case, but it was to actually feel like you're in history. You're part of an ongoing story was incredible. So when Paula Venables, she's not a lawyer, but when Paula Venables gave evidence, I was there, in the press bench, and it was genuinely tense when she walked in.
Yeah.
You thought because we the press bench was just behind the public gallery, and I was looking around at the public gallery, and there was some justifiably seething faces as she walked in. Um, and what was incredible actually, no one said a word, no one booed, no one hissed, anything like that. They just had this dignified silence, which actually was almost more. I think she was braced for boos, and then when she was
Right.
met with silence, she s- didn't quite know what to do with it. So.
Possibly, yeah, it's probably quite intimidating, isn't it? That sort of like actually this wall of people just like, as you say, seething.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I took a picture actually. So when you walked out, there was only one exit from that building. And when I walked out, there was sort of four police on either side making this sort of guard of honor, and then a whole pack of photographers and cameramen so you couldn't see the road. Like they completely filled your
Okay.
view. And I took a picture of it because I was like, my God, like I'm intimidated and they're not taking my picture. So um yeah, God knows what it must have been like to sort of
It,
feel
it,
that wrath.
it's an incredible story, isn't it? Story, position, situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we all, I say nobody reads, obviously reads the Gazette, but obviously see Mr. Bates on telly. Uh,
But what's
but
what's amazing though, he's got so many strands that every lawyer I think would go, oh no, no, that applies to me. So you've got in-house lawyers who sort of blur the lines between client and employer. So a third of solicitors are in-house. So there must be so many people out there who work for a company who think to themselves, oh, do you know what? If I saw something dodgy going on here, could I speak out? I mean, and so there's that dynamic. You've got the dynamic of the litigation and all that came out about how they were trying to sort of intimidate the postmasters and trying to keep it going until they ran out of money and that that happens. I'm sure you've come across it before where you look at the other side's tactics and they are tactics, aren't they? Really, that um
There are definitely tactics, and
yeah
you definitely come across people and you go, look, there is no need to behave like that at
yeah
all. You know,
absolutely.
there are ways of doing this. Of course, I'm going to uphold the law, and of course, I'm going to represent my client, but you don't need to be like that
Well,
ever.
yeah, and you can open it up, can't you? 'Cause so there's a movement now about trying to sort of have better litigation um practices. Things like sending something on a Friday afternoon and saying, "Oh, I need a response to this." It's just really. Am I allowed to swear?
You can swear.
Okay, that's just a really shitty thing to do, isn't
It is
it?
a shitty thing to do. It
And
really is.
and everybody knows that it's a shitty thing to do, and a lot of the time it's just sort of posturing to try to show off to the client, oh look, look what we've managed to do. And I just think,
Yeah.
like, come on,
All you're doing is ruining somebody's weekend.
yeah,
There's no, yeah,
exactly.
because
And
like nobody's going to do anything until Monday, but they're going to think about it all weekend, and
yeah,
it's not going to get done. And honestly, we've been talking about this quite a lot recently because I'm based in
mhm,
Bristol, and we've got quite a collaborative bunch of lawyers. It's actually there's obviously competition, but people are going, no, no, we're all in it together,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is really nice. But yeah, that sort of old school, throw the book at you behaviour. And you're like, not one of these,
yeah.
me.
It's horrible. And actually, I mean, who am I? Again, I'm not a lawyer, so who am I to say? But I think actually the courts don't really help either. So there's this there's still this sense that if you're a minute late filing something or if there's a little mistake on it or if you've oh my God, sorry, my mini rant, but you can't email service. I mean, what what on earth is going on there? And then if you email service and the other side go, oh no, no, well, we didn't allow you to email the service. And I just think, like, surely the courts at some point should go, do you know what? Can you stop all snitching on each other and just and being so ridiculous? And and actually, like there is a serious fallout from that because if the penalty for doing something late or getting a detail wrong in a document is so draconian that your client's going to lose the case and your firm's going to be sued for professional negligence, is it any wonder that particularly inexperienced lawyers, junior lawyers, are tempted to kind of go, oh shit, I better just change that date or I better just make a time recording to say that I did make that call when I'd forgotten to do it or whatever. And I just I just think we've created this environment sometimes where it's really the consequences are so devastating of making a mistake that we don't allow people to make them.
It's really, I find it endlessly fascinating because the law is in law and court cases and litigation. It's all about somebody's made a mistake
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
wouldn't be litigating if somebody hadn't got something wrong.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So hang on, we've already established that things get wrong. Judges, that the reason we have an appeal process is they get things wrong. And yet
Mm,
on the other side of this, we've got this, as you say, this fear factor, this fear culture of
mm.
I can't do anything without, reprimand or being struck off or what have you.
Yeah,
And the entire system is built on, of course, you've got things wrong. Because my
yeah,
entire job is to point out to people going, suppose you know you're doing that all wrong, don't you?
yeah, yeah. No,
That
it's a
is my
great
job.
point. Yeah, yeah. It's a great point. Yeah, and I, I I've thought for a long time. I keep on banging this drum and endlessly, but I really do think it that if a junior lawyer is up before the tribunal for being dishonest, I genuinely think that their firm should um, face disciplinary proceedings if they cannot show that they provided a safe space for that person. So, if the firm can turn around to the SRA and say, honestly, day one we said it's fine if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Day two we said it's fine if you make a mistake. Obviously, then that's just a rogue lawyer who's done wrong, and you can't blame the firm for that. But if the firm has not provided a safe space,
Yeah.
and the consequence of that is that someone's made a mistake, I genuinely think the firm should be on the hook for that as well. I just think it's so unfair that we've seen it numerous times that junior lawyers are sort of hung out to dry almost.
They are. It does feel there's a big sort of scapegoating thing, and all the junior lawyers I have ever looked at said, "I don't care, whatever you do, just tell
Mm.
me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
it
our job is we tell me, we can dig you out of a hole. The worst thing you can do is not tell me.
exactly. And actually, it came up recently with the whole fake case citations, which is a fascinating subject. Um, and the lawyer, the barrister in that case, well, I didn't get any supervision. I didn't get any guidance. Now, I'm not saying whether that's correct or not. Like that was what she said, but I think there probably is a wider issue, particularly with flexible working
Yeah,
practices, that how much guidance and supervision and training and hand holding are young lawyers getting?
it's really hard, and it is something that I've noticed. Sort of, I remember, so when I was a trainee, I was my boss was in an office opposite me, and I hear a bellow, and he's like, "Get in here now!" And I went, "What?" And he went, "If you ever split an infinitive again in any of my letters, I'm going to sack you." And I went, "All right, sorry." Um, but it was that ability to go in the instant. It was instant. You could go, hang on, in here now, talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
thrash it out. Let's talk about it. Why have you done that? Whereas I think if it's that sort of remote thing, it's almost like, oh, you get your stuff and you're looking at it, and I'll add it to a queue and I'll look at it. Whereas we used to have as a trainee, we supervising partner would have us all lined up at 4 p.m. with our post,
Hmm.
and you'd be like, right, yeah, sign that one off. Yeah, you can have that signed off. You went, no, out you go. And there's balance. There's balance for that, because of
Yeah.
course people need the home life balance, and we're both working from home.
Yeah, yeah, of
Uh,
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, hi. And so there's points to that, but how do you learn or in a remote environment and with
Mm,
AI, LLM, and all that sort of stuff? You're thinking, hang on, of course you're going to use it. I'm using it all
mm.
the time for various non-legal things. And I was thinking, it's pretty good, but I'm not yet confident I'm going to use it for the job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm probably old enough and enough to know that's probably not a good idea right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
But why would you know if that's how you've been taught in university, if that's how you've been taught, to
Well,
do
yeah, and
things?
particularly if you've come through at a time during lockdown,
Yeah,
um, and you and obviously you should not put forward fake case citations.
that's
That
probably a
goes
step
without
too
saying.
far.
Yeah, but you might have been done your training contract or your pupillage, and you've never set foot in a library
Yeah,
or had access to these books that would be able to tell you these things, these cases, and I don't
yeah,
know. I just feel like at some point we have to sort of decide, well, how are we going to supervise and make sure
yeah.
these
Because it's back to basics, isn't it? Because you sit there and go, okay, well, you know, I'm like, right, where's my source? Where's my original source? Is it, Lexis? Is it whatever? Is it actually
mm,
the case? And is it a reputable source that I'm using? Or, have I found somebody's article on a website that kind of gives me the answer, but at least
mm,
starts me off? But of course you're going to do it because it's speed. Because it's exactly that point. Going, people want things done now. They want them done
mm, mm.
3 days ago. They don't understand why it's taking so long. They're going, sometimes things do take time.
Yeah,
And yes, there's lots of stuff that can help me do things quicker, but there are some things that need me to sit down and properly think about it. And
yeah,
if you're under pressure, of course you're going to start to looking to cut corners. And I like your point about the supervision. What does that look like? We need to really tie up on that, you
mm,
know.
mm.
And yeah, Buck always stopped with me when I was supervising people. It was like, look, my responsibility is to stop you doing it. Now, if you've been stupid and gone off on a frolic of your own, that's on your head. Be it. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
backing you out. I'm not backing you at that point. But
yeah,
if you've made a mistake, a genuine mistake, we'll fix it
yeah, 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 yeah.
because you can
The-
pretty much usually can.
my youngest is 9 years old, and next year he's allowed to walk home from school. And you know, if if worse comes to it, he gets hit by something on his bike, then that's on me because I should have made sure he was capable. But if he doesn't wear a helmet when I've told him to many
Yeah,
times and gets hurt, well,
yeah.
I'll turn around and say, well, you he shouldn't have been such an
What
idiot.
did you expect?
Yeah.
See that,
Um,
see that hot thing, fire, you stick your fingers in it, it'll hurt.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
if you need
yeah.
to find out the hard way, then
I'm telling you now, it will hurt. After this, it's up to you.
it's up to you, isn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah, I think we are, obviously, I think it's quite interesting actually because law tends to move so glacially slowly.
yeah,
People are just like, "What do you mean you're still working on the Wills Act 1837?" I said, well, it's fit for purpose, isn't it? Sort of. And actually, to find that we're in a space now with remote working, with how people have been trained, what that supervision looks like, it's quite hard to adapt all that sort of
yeah, yeah.
centuries way of learning
Into it's
into a modern
suddenly
environment.
changing very fast. Yeah, I suspect. I mean, I'm not Richard Susskind, but I suspect the next 5-10 years will be the profession will look completely different in 10 years'
Completely
time. Um,
different.
uh, yeah, Richard Susskind, I always know he wrote The End of Lawyers, and there's a lot more lawyers than when he wrote that. So I don't necessarily think it's apocalyptic, but yeah, it's a quite a tumultuous time, and same from my profession as well. I
Yeah,
mean, crikey, yeah, I've never done it, but I partly because I'm sort of scared. But what if I put in a judgment into Chat GPT and it writes it better than I could? What's going on there?
yeah,
Um, so yeah, we've all got to try and adapt and use the technology to our benefit as well.
mm,
Like, so I did try this actually the other week. There was a judgment that was like 300 paragraphs or something. It was just waffling on, and I read the judgment. I wrote the judgment up, and I was really pleased with it. But I did I put the judgment into a chat thing, and then I put my story into it, and I said, "Oh, have I got this right?"
yeah,
Um, and they always want to butter you up, don't they?
yeah.
AI. They want to tell you
Oh,
how
you're
great.
amazing.
But it was really interesting because it said, "Oh, yeah, you got the top points all right. You might want to consider moving that further up." And I thought that was really interesting because that's not cheating the reader, and that's not me cutting corners because it's essential that I understood the judgment
Yeah.
and could write it up on my own terms. But it was useful from an editing point of view to for someone or something to say, oh, actually, maybe you could just reorder that
Mm,
or give that more prominence. And it did give me food for thought. You need the hopefully you need the creativity um and the will and the empathy to find stories.
mm.
And I think always have that over the robots, if you like. But when it comes to editing and doing the sort of overview of it and the supervision, yeah, it is interesting how my
Yeah.
my change in that respect.
And and it is us learning from them and going and actually quite helpful to be learning new styles and new ways of doing things because
Yeah,
then it
yeah, yeah.
stops me getting sort of stale and stuck in my ways and
Exactly, and it's kind of exciting if you think about it like this. Like, say every Times article, every Guardian article, every newspaper article that has ever been has been fed into an AI tool, and then I write a story, and then the AI is able to mine the knowledge from every newspaper article there's ever been. It's incredible when you think about it.
yeah,
My God, I can get guidance from my favorite writers,
yeah,
from the greatest journalists that there's ever been,
yeah.
and they can feed into my story and just say, oh yeah, that's pretty good, yeah, or maybe do it a slightly different way. How exciting is that? Like
It is
that's
exciting, and I think yes, that there's lots of lawyers. I think there's still space for lawyers and journalists, and certainly
mm,
symbiotically, so giving each other plenty to talk about.
Mm.
But yeah, interesting times as usual. And let's see where we end up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still hopeful that I'll have somewhere to be. So earlier this year, I did um, someone had told me that the state of Cardiff Civil Justice Centre was pretty lamentable. Which I see you nodding, and
I
I
am.
think a lot of people have sort of war stories from Cardiff, um, and a lot of journalists don't do this, sadly, but I was like, well, I've got to go. I've got to go and see it for myself, and go and speak to people. And I don't think people could quite believe there was a journalist there, but um, and I experienced it and felt it, and then was able to write, hopefully quite a good story at the end of it. And AI won't do that. AI cannot do that. So I'm still hopeful there's a place.
There's still space for you to go to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Get on the road.
Thank goodness for that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, John, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so
Okay.
much, and an absolute pleasure. Thank you very
Oh well,
much.
well, thank you. Yeah, it's flown by.
Isn't it? Excellent.